morning. We are in week 3. We paused last week for the youth, and I will say that I thoroughly enjoyed the service last week. I was mostly impressed with the way that those young ladies took control, right? They owned the stage. It wasn't something that they needed to be pushed or persuaded. They took ownership of it themselves, and maybe there was a little bit of adult help, but generally they owned it. They did a great job presenting it, and I couldn't be more proud of all 4 or 5 of those young ladies. Excellent job, especially Darby. Very good message. Very good presentation. So we're picking back up in this series, Hard Choices. It's week 3 of this series. We have one more week next week, and then the following week we're going to start a longer, probably 13 to 14 week series that I'm calling Act Like a Church. And we are going to go through the book of Acts. Not entirely, but we are going to work our way through it. But this week we're still on hard choices. We're talking about 4 different things that we need to make a choice. Things we have to choose. And these are not things that, you only have these 4 choices and then your life is going to be easy if you choose the right way. These aren't the only 4 choices that you have to make in life. But these are 4 things that I believe, as a Jesus follower especially, if we make the hard choice, if we decide correctly, it makes our life a little bit easier, and it makes us a better person, a better follower of Jesus, if you will. Because we've talked about this. Right now, where we are in our life, right now, essentially we are the sum total of the decisions that we've made in the past. So we are currently sitting in a spot that was guided by the decisions or the choices that we made in the past. Well, that being the case, that means that our future is the total or the sum total of the choices or the decisions that we make today. So if we want a better life, if we want a better future, if we want to improve or make ourselves better as Jesus followers in the future, it starts by making better decisions and harder choices today. I've written a lot of messages, Sunday morning sermons, Bible studies, weddings, funerals, different events that I've done for different reasons. And I've written a lot of messages. And in writing in general and in public speaking, which I don't generally have a problem with public speaking. The bigger the crowd, the more it kind of fuels me, and I really get into it. But if you do some reading or studying, they'll tell you that in writing and in public speaking, you want to start with a hook. Okay, you got to get a hook, something to hook and draw in the crowd, and then you have their attention, right? Now, generally, I like to start with something positive, something funny, maybe a joke, and now you're laughing, and the tension has eased, and you're paying attention, right? But I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to start with something negative this morning. In this life, you are going to experience pain. You're going to experience pain. It's not like it's a one-time event in which at some point in your life you experience pain and then the rest of your life is great. It is a daily, constant, continual thing that we face. We are going to experience pain. Jesus himself told the apostles in John 16:33 that in this world you will have tribulation. We'll have trouble. We'll have heartache. We will have sorrow. We are going to experience pain. We all deal with pain in our life in some form or another. Some of the pain is beyond our control, right? There's nothing we can do about it. Maybe a friend betrays you. A boyfriend or a girlfriend or just a good friend that you gave trust to and they betrayed you. That causes pain. That wasn't you that did this. It causes pain. Or maybe a car accident, right? Not necessarily physical pain from the car accident, but there's the stress and the emotional pain of now how do we fix the car, or we have to buy a new car, and the money aspect of it, or the company downsizes and you're getting laid off. You had nothing to do with that, but it causes pain. Some of the pain we deal with is beyond our control. However, some of the pain that we deal with is within our control. And isn't it true that sometimes in life you have to choose between two different types of pain? And that's what we're talking about this morning. Right? Perhaps you're a youth and you have the choice of choosing the pain of being obedient to your parents or facing the pain of the consequences later. Choose which pain you want to deal with. Or in school, right? You have the pain of studying. I don't want to study. I don't like studying. I'd rather do other things. It's painful. But the other option is the pain of failing the test. Maybe even failing the class, having to retake the class. Sometimes there's a pain to say no to certain temptations, when you'd rather just give in and do it and enjoy it. Or there's the pain of addiction later. Right? There's the pain sometimes of living within your means, or you choose the pain of a mountain of debt later. Today we're going to talk about the pain of choosing discipline over experiencing the pain later of regret. That is, choosing the pain of discipline over the pain of regret. Now, discipline by definition, I looked up, there's several definitions, and I wrote some down. The definition of discipline: control gained by enforcing obedience or order, orderly or prescribed conduct or pattern of behavior, to train or develop by instruction and exercise, especially in self-control. The definition that I liked of discipline the best, though, is that discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want most. Choosing between what you want now in the moment versus what you want most. Right? Because, like, as an example, what I want most is to be physically fit, be healthy, have the six-pack beach body. That's what I want most. So discipline is, instead of choosing the second plate, instead of choosing the brownies, I'm choosing what I want most: to be fit, to be healthy. I think when it comes to discipline, when we talk about the different aspects or areas of our lives which we need discipline, I think we all understand discipline. We understand what it means to be disciplined. We don't need Surrey or Google or a YouTube instructional video. We know where we need to be disciplined in our lives. Most of the time, we just fail to be disciplined. Right? We fail to do it. We screw up discipline all the time. But maybe it'll make you feel better to know that the Apostle Paul failed at discipline. The Apostle Paul struggled with this very thing, and that's the text in Romans 7. And if you read verse 15 of Romans 7, Paul, writing the church, says this: I do not understand my own actions. Like Paul said, I don't get it. He says, for I do not do what I want to do, but I do the very thing that I hate. Paul struggled with discipline. He said, I know that this is what I'm supposed to do, and I want to do that, but I don't do it. Instead, he said, I end up doing this thing over here, a thing that I don't want to do, a thing that I hate. Verse 18, Paul says, for I know nothing good dwells in me, that is, in my flesh. For I have the desire to do what is right, but not ability to carry it out. For I do not do the good that I want, but the evil that I do not want is what I keep on doing. Right? Paul struggled with this. Right? Paul struggled with discipline. He said, I understand what I'm supposed to do. I know God's law. I know what is right. I know the things that I'm supposed to be doing, but I don't do them. He said, instead, I end up doing this thing that I hate. I do this sinful thing that I don't want to do. In verse 24, he says, wretched man that I am, who will deliver me from this body of death? Right? He poses a rhetorical question. He's essentially admitting defeat. He's saying, I can't do this. Who can help me? He says, thanks be to God through Jesus Christ our Lord. So then I myself serve the law of God with my mind, but with my body I serve the law of sin. Right? Paul said the answer is not me. The answer is not me being better disciplined. The answer is not me doing better, trying to get stronger. It's not on me working harder. Paul says the answer is Jesus. Who, Paul says, can deliver me? Jesus Christ, our Lord, is the answer. With Christ's help, Paul said, that's the only way that I can defeat this. With Christ's help is the only way I can do what I'm supposed to do. And I'm convinced that with Christ's help, we can begin to choose discipline and avoid feeling the pain of regret. We can begin to choose the thing that we want most over the things that we want now. So Paul talked a little bit about this to the church in Corinth in his first letter, right? 1 Corinthians 9. And I like what Paul writes here. I really like this analogy. In verse 24 of 1 Corinthians 9, Paul says, do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one receives the prize? Right? He's not asking them, like, hey, you didn't know? Like, he's reminding them, hey, you understand this, you get this. When we race, everybody's racing, but there's only one winner, he says. So run that you may obtain it. It says every athlete exercises self-control in all things. They do it to receive a perishable wreath, but we an imperishable. You know, when you think about these athletes running, right, they're running to try and win. There's a race, and I want to win the race. And if they win the race, what do they receive? They receive a wreath. Well, that wreath eventually dies. It withers away. It perishes. Even the memory of who won that race dies over time. Paul says these guys are running to receive this perishable gift, but we are running to receive an imperishable gift. Paul says, run that race and win it. To achieve this, he says these athletes exercise self-control in all things. Self-control meaning self-controlled, contentment, exhibit self-government, conducting oneself temperately. Right? It's making the hard choice to say, this is what I want now, but this is what I want most. So I'm going to deny myself the thing that I want now so I can achieve the thing that I want most. You run the race to win. Right? Because what I really want is to sleep in. Right? Forget the alarm. I want to sleep in. I want to wake up. I want to eat a bowl of cereal. Go to work. I want to eat what I want. Come home, I want to sit on the couch, turn the TV on, be lazy, relax, have ice cream after dinner. It's what I really want to do. Because you know what? Waking up early is uncomfortable. Running is painful. Right? Having a strict diet isn't any fun. But it's choosing the thing that I want most, which is to run and win that race, over the things that I want now. And Paul gives this metaphor of running a race to them, and it's something that in Corinth they would have been very familiar with, because in Corinth they had this thing called the Isthmian Games, and it was an event not too dissimilar from an Olympic event, but it was a race that was run. It was a big race. It was very patriotic, and all the community, the whole town would come out and watch the runners run. And these athletes, Paul's saying, they were very disciplined. You're talking, 9-10 months of training. Like the race is over, and you give your body some time to recover, and then we start training for the race again next year. They had a very strict diet. They trained their bodies in very extreme weather conditions, extreme heat and extreme cold, and they're out training in this. In fact, the writer of Hebrews, in Hebrews 12, references this and says, "Let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us." Now, the writer of Hebrews says to lay aside every weight. These runners would, in fact, do that. Anything that was heavy, that would weigh them down, they took it off. In fact, most of the time they ran naked because the clothing weighed them down, which is why it was very important that you win so there isn't a bunch of naked guys in front of you while you're running the race. But Paul says run the race to win. Right? Sometimes in life we have to choose pain. But there's pain either way. We choose the pain of discipline now, or we will experience later the pain of regret. I must choose now the thing that helps me to achieve what it is that I want most. So what's the application? Right? I have two questions, two specific to you questions. These are questions that only you can answer. I want you to think about them. And the first question is this: what do you want most? What is the thing that you want most in your life? And it has to be something real, something legitimate, right? Like, I would love more than anything to win the lottery and retire at 40. But I know that that's not going to happen. In fact, I've heard to win the lottery, you have to play the lottery, so I'm automatically disqualified. Right? But something real and something legitimate. What do you want most in your life? Maybe you want to be closer to God. Right? I want to feel the presence of God more often. I want to be closer to God. Maybe you want to be more healthy. Right? Treat your body a little bit better. Get healthier. Lose a couple pounds. Maybe you want to improve your marriage. Improve your relationship with your spouse. Maybe it's get out of debt. Maybe it's free yourself from some sort of addiction. What is the thing that you want most? And it's kind of like New Year's resolutions. You need to pick one. Because I can be honest, there are several things that I want most. I can name half a dozen that say, I want this, but I also want this and a little bit of that. But when you're trying to achieve the thing that you want most, you need to pick one thing. Let's work towards it. Let's achieve it. And then let's move on to something else. Once I've mastered that and gotten that one thing I want most, I can move on and work on something different. And when I've won at that, I can move on to something else, and it kind of snowballs, and you begin to succeed. Right? You gain traction and motivation. So what is it, that one thing that you would say, this is what I want most? And the second question is, what do I need to do now to achieve the thing that I want most? What is it that I need to do now to achieve what I want most? You know, if you'd say, I want to be closer to God, I want to feel God more in my life, well, then maybe I need to read my Bible more often. or download an app on my phone and get into a reading plan. So I'm reading my Bible every day, or even if I'm not reading it every day, it reads it to me. So I'm getting more time in the Word of God. Maybe I need to spend more time praying than just Sunday morning. Right? Maybe I need to be at church more often. Maybe I need to serve the church, because now that keeps me accountable. Because even though I don't want to go to church, I have to go to church because I have something I have to do at church, right? What do I need to do right now to feel closer to God? It's no different than if you want to lose a few pounds and get healthier, right? What do I need to do now to achieve that thing that I want most, right? Starts by putting down the donut, right? Joining a gym, getting some exercise, maybe get some exercise equipment at home, or subscribe to an online service where you can watch workouts. You get a trainer. You get an accountability partner, somebody to say, this is what I'm trying to achieve. Would you help me? Right? And we change our diet because it's 90% diet and 10% exercise. What do I need to do now to accomplish the thing that I want the most? If you want a better, more intimate marriage, right? We pick a weekly date night. And we say, you know what, every Thursday night the kids are staying home and I am taking my spouse out to dinner. I'm going to date my spouse. Maybe you need counseling or therapy, or maybe you find 2 or 3 other couples and say, hey, I want to do a marriage study. Would you do it with me? Right? Maybe you send the kids to grandpa and grandma's for the weekend and you attend a conference at home. You know, maybe you need to get out of debt. First thing you need to do is stop spending money, right? Live within your means, create a budget, stick to the budget. What do I need to do now to achieve the thing that I want most? And you know what? It's not going to be fun. I mean, an at-home conference with my spouse for the weekend would be fun, but in general, it's going to be painful. Right? It's going to hurt. It's not going to be pleasant. But again, we have to choose the pain of discipline so we don't experience the pain of regret. The Apostle Paul said, do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one receives a prize? So run so that you may obtain it. Every athlete exercises self-control in all things. They do it to receive a perishable wreath, but we an imperishable. So do not run aimlessly. Do not box as one beating the air, Paul says, but I discipline my body to keep it under control, lest after preaching to others, I myself should be disqualified. Paul says, don't run aimlessly. Right? Don't run without a goal. Don't run without a purpose. When you run, there needs to be purpose in every single step that you take. I'll be honest, I'm a very competitive person. I'm type A personality. I'm a perfection-oriented kind of person. But more often than not, I lack discipline and self-control. I will do a whole line of Oreos if we have Oreos. I like sweets. I like sugar. I'll eat 2 or 3 pieces of cake if it's got the right icing. Kara, when the Easter and the Christmas Reese's eggs come out, because those have about the right peanut butter to chocolate ratio. You know, she'll buy 3 or 4 of them. I'll eat a whole 6-pack of those in half a day. Right? And I don't like exercising. I'm not a big fan of exercising, but if I'm eating like that, I have to do something. So I end up signing up for these races, and we run these races just so I have some kind of accountability or motivation to run. Like, I would rather sleep in. I would rather eat whatever I wanted to eat and not worry about it. I would rather, on my days off, sit around and do nothing and turn the TV on and be lazy. It's difficult and it's painful, but we must have the discipline to work towards the thing that I want most. There must be purpose in every step. I was listening to a podcast and I heard it explained this way. Imagine for a moment you're on your front porch and you look out and see this beautiful grass, right? This green, lush, thick, beautiful grass in your yard. And the thing that you want most is to have a good, nice-looking yard. But in order to do that, right, we have to stay off the grass. Because if you walk on it too much, it'll beat it down. It's not gonna be beautiful anymore. So instead of getting to the mailbox the easy way and cutting across the yard, we have to walk down the sidewalk and over to the driveway and up the driveway and back out front. And we have to take the long way around, right? To stay off the grass. It's a longer walk. It's less comfortable. It's a little more difficult. So one day, you're out looking and you need to get to the mailbox. And you think to yourself, you know what? I'm just going to take the easy way today. I'm not going to do the long way. You know, it's only one time, right? Walking on the grass one time is not going to hurt the grass. So you do it. You take the short route across the grass. And the next day, you think to yourself, you know, that easy route, that was nice. It was quicker. It was more direct. So you do it again. And you do it again. And again. And again. And again. And eventually, you have reprogrammed your brain that this is the normal route. And you have beat down the grass. And you look out at your yard, and you can see a trail between the mailbox and the door. And the thing that you wanted most, to have a nice yard, is gone. The thing that you chose was the easy route. We have to choose between the thing I want now and the thing I want most. We have to identify what that is, the thing that I want most, and choose the pain of discipline to work toward the thing that I want most. I'll give you a personal example for us. We had moved back to Michigan, and we had a lot of friends in the area that had Jeeps, right? And we went on a couple little trail rides in the Jeep with our friends, and it's fun. You know, low speed, cruising through the trails, find a mud puddle and have a little bit of fun in the mud, and just kind of putzing through the woods at low speed. And we thought, you know what, this is really fun. And we have a lot of friends that have Jeeps. Let's buy a Jeep. And we saw a lot of Jeeps that we were really interested in. But I couldn't afford them. I mean, I could have afforded them. I could have gone out and got a loan and bought a brand new Jeep, and I'd have had what I wanted. But the thing that we wanted most was to not be in debt over a Jeep. So what did we do? We had an envelope, and every month we put $100. Hey, $200 in it, and here's $300, and here's your income tax return. We're going to put that in that envelope, and over time we built up the money to buy the Jeep. It wasn't pleasant. You know, it took us over a year to get the money to buy this Jeep, and during that year our friends are out. We're seeing pictures on Facebook, having fun in their Jeeps, and it's like, that's what I want. But we chose the pain of discipline and waited, and eventually, after running with the purpose, we bought our Jeep. And I was able to buy it with cash and not go into debt. We achieved the thing we wanted most, and it was painful for a little while. But we lived without the pain of regret because we were disciplined and we had purpose. You have to retrain your brain, right? Because the reality is, I really want to eat the sugary foods. I want the desserts, right? I want the cookies. I want the ice cream. And I know that the sugar releases endorphins and it makes my brain all happy and I'm excited. I want it, but at the end of the day, I don't want to have a heart attack when I'm 50. Right? I don't want to be so overweight that I can't get on the floor and play with my kids. I want to be healthy. Right? I want the new fancy things. I want the new phone. I want the new toy, the new car. But I also don't want to be living paycheck to paycheck with a mountain of debt. There are things that, you know what, it's difficult for us to choose that pain of discipline. It can be painful. But we need Christ to help us with that. Right? We need Christ. We need boundaries. I need accountability. Right? I need Jesus. I will never not need Jesus. I need Jesus daily when I make mistakes. And I need the Holy Spirit and the work of the Holy Spirit transforming me into the person that Christ wants me to be. And I'm convinced that with Christ in our life, with Christ's help, we can choose the pain of discipline and avoid the pain of regret. So let me ask you again. What do you want most? And what is it that you need to do now to achieve the thing that you want most? Right? We need to live a life with discipline that we can say, I have no regrets. Right? A life that we need to live a life that we refuse to be the one that says, you know what, I wish I would have spent more time with. Right? Or a life that we refuse to say, you know what, I wish I would have reconciled the relationship. Or I should have taken better care of myself. Or I never planned for this to happen. I had no idea that this would ruin my life. I wish I had another chance. We can avoid that by running the race with purpose. Purpose in every step. And choosing in the moment the thing that we want most over the things that we want now. Run with purpose in every step. And with Christ's help, I'm convinced we can choose the pain of discipline and avoid the pain of regret. Let's pray. Father God, this is hard for me. I think it's hard for most of us, God, because there are things in our life that we get caught up in, and we get that short-sightedness and say, I really want this now, so I'm going to indulge, and I'm going to do this because it's what I want now. But God, ultimately, it's a deterrent for us to achieve the things that we want most. God, discipline can be difficult. It's painful. It isn't fun. It isn't pleasant, but ultimately, God, it's a choice that we have to make. God, I pray that you would be with us, that your Spirit would guide us and empower us throughout our life as we start to identify the things that we want most, and we devise a plan, God, to say that this is how I accomplish these things that I want most. I pray that you would give us power, give us encouragement. Help us, God, to be disciplined, to choose discipline so we can achieve those things that we want most, and we can avoid the pain of regret. God, I thank you for this day and this time together, this family, this body of Christ. I pray that you would be with us, that you would protect us, that you would watch over us, and God, that you would grow us. We thank you for this church. We thank you for the friends and family that we have here to provide us with encouragement. And Lord, I just pray that as we finish this service, God, that your Spirit would be with us, encourage us through this week, and bring us back here again safely next week. Lord, we thank you and we praise you, most of all for your Son, Jesus. And it's in his name